Hey friends, it's Mike. It's Sunday, August 11th, 2019, and around noon here on the East Coast. I wanted to do this video blog to cover a couple of topics. One being this theory that's floating around out there that biological Paul McCartney died from coronary artery disease, which is heart disease. The acronym is CAD. And I did put a post up on my Facebook page around 4 or 5 days ago, and I gave my quote-unquote official position on it. But for those that are not on my Facebook page, I figured let me talk about it here so that I can answer the question of where do I stand or what do I think of that particular theory. And we'll get to that in a moment. The other thing I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about Mike McCartney, the alleged brother of Paul McCartney, who goes by the stage name of Mike McGear. And another question that I get asked often is, how deep is Mike McGear into this deception or connection into the whole McCartney conspiracy? And so the link to what I'm going to talk about will be in the description box below. And if you're interested, you can go there and you can do some additional research. All right, so before we get started, what I wanted to say is thank you to everyone for the overwhelmingly positive feedback that I received from my Stanshall and acral analysis, the presentation that I did. It convinced a lot of people. There were folks that were on the fence, and that's understandable. And many of those folks now are no longer on the fence. And of course, there are going to be those that are going to be the naysayers, and they're going to continue to hunker down and not want to accept it. But that's their call. So I'm not going to get into anybody's business about trying to convince them to believe something that they just don't want to believe or that they just don't want to see. Right? That's their business. It's not mine. Like I've always said, I'm putting my research and findings out there. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I have my personal views on what the McCartney conspiracy is all about and how it went down and what the components are, and everybody who follows my work, knows where I stand on it. So, but hey, different strokes for different folks, right? In any case, let's deal with this whole coronary artery disease topic first. So as I mentioned, I put a post up on Facebook, and I'll actually read that post. It'll be a lot easier than me trying to paraphrase it. But let me just give you some background. There were two guys that were trying to promote this theory and this ebook. I understand it's an ebook. On my YouTube channel going back several months ago, and I picked up on it right away, and both of them were blocked and banned from the channel. As I've mentioned a number of times, I don't allow my channel, my platforms to be used as a billboard for somebody's self-promotion or for them to push a personal agenda or their personal theories on something. If you want to do that, then it's very simple. All you need to do is to create your own platforms, put a YouTube channel up, put a website up, put a Facebook page up, and you can go do that. It is bad form when you try to promote yourself by using somebody else's platform, trying to leverage somebody else's hard work and perseverance. I don't subscribe to that. I don't do it. You don't see me pushing my narratives on Tina's Facebook page or Tina's YouTube channel or Claire's YouTube channel or anything like that. I mean, you just don't see me doing that. I might make a comment here or there to answer something that somebody has asked that ties into the work that I've done, and I've done that very sporadically. But to just use somebody's channel to promote yourself and to promote your ideas and to promote your narratives, that's not right. So to me, that's a foul ball, and I won't accept it. So these two people, I'm not going to say who they are. Most that are watching this and know this theory probably know the names already. So, but I'm just going to keep it out of the equation. All right. So this is what I wrote and I posted on my Facebook page. It goes like this. A number of people have asked me to weigh in on a narrative floating around, which is coming from a person releasing an ebook where their story states biological Paul died from coronary artery disease, or CAD, C-A-D. The author of the book, as I understand it, allegedly worked within the Beatle inner circle, and I'll talk about this more below. The net of it is, based on my own extensive research into the McCartney topic, I find the theory highly improbable. CAD is a disease that typically afflicts people when they hit middle age, men around 45 and women at 55. Although it can afflict younger people, it is not common for a 20-something to die from CAD or coronary artery disease. With lifestyle changes, a person with CAD can live for quite some time. It can last for years or be lifelong. Treatments include lifestyle changes, medications, angioplasty, and surgery. It's important to understand that all information regarding the Beatles, McCartney, etc. is controlled. The possibility that someone who worked in the past or works currently within the McCartney enterprise being allowed to release information outside the official channels is highly suspect. Knowing where the McCartney conspiracy resides within the hierarchy of the pyramid, which is very high up the ladder, it is extremely unlikely anything leaves that inner circle unless it has been sanctioned by either William himself or by those above him. There are those, of course, in the Paul is Dead community who like this theory because the CAD story makes them feel better about what may have happened. They don't have to believe in the dark occult aspects of what really went on. They can continue to embrace the fictional Cinderella story of the Beatles myth. In other words, it's mental appeasement. It eases the mind to deny any sinister or nefarious components to the story. It's easier on the psyche to believe the poor lad died from heart disease and was replaced because otherwise the world would have had a meltdown. Most people would rather embrace a pleasant lie than an uncomfortable truth. And that's my commentary on the topic. There are going to be those that are just going to want to run with it because people are going to believe what it is they want to believe. It's up to each of us to use critical thinking and discernment to assess any kind of conspiracy, not just this one. Okay, so I'll leave a link down below that has to do with coronary artery disease. It's a WebMD link. There are many links out there from various medical sites that will explain what I just took you through here. Okay, so again, my take on it is it's highly improbable, and I personally would never run with it. Okay, my view. Okay, so the second piece of this is has to do with Mike McCartney, who goes by the stage name of Mike McGear, allegedly the brother of biological Paul McCartney. They don't look anything alike. That's why I say allegedly. I've always been very skeptical of the two of them being brothers. It could be, it could be. I know people that are related that don't look like each other, but anyway, it's just everything else that I've gone through with this research, it makes you very suspect of all of the characters, all the players that are involved. So in any case, so Layla, if you're listening to this, thank you very much for sending this link to me. I was aware of this band, and I had set some information aside to look more into it for my 2-hour presentation, the bigger presentation I'm looking to do later this year. Right now, I'm saying September, but it could easily move to October or November. It just takes a long time to put these presentations together. So let's talk about Grimm's. Grimm's was an English pop rock comedy and poetry group originally formed as a merger of the Scaffold, the Bonzo Dog Band, and the Liverpool Scene being a band, for 2 concerts in 1971 at the suggestion of John Gorman. And there'll be a link down below and you can take a look at John Gorman. So Grimm's is an acronym representing the first letter of the last name of the founding members of the band. So here are the founding members. John Gorman, that's the G in Grimm's. Andy Roberts, there's the R. Neil Innes, also from Ruddles fame, there's the I. Mike McGear, Mike McCartney. Roger McGow, and Vivian Stanshall. That's how they got Grimm's. So you have McGear and Stanshall in the same band. So there were some other interesting notable references in the link that is going to be down below. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but we know that Keith Moon was a very close friend of Paul and Linda McCartney. This is mentioned in memoirs, but it's also mentioned in other online sites where they talk about, Moon being a good friend of McCartney's or Billy's. So in this Wikipedia link, it says that for their initial performances, the core founder members were augmented by various friends and guest musicians. At the second appearance, for example, Keith Moon played drums. So again, we see Keith Moon is a key player in this this interwoven, interactive group of people that this kludge, this troupe, if you will, that are part of this deception. Now they talk a little bit about Stanshall, and so let me read this. Roberts, Richards, and Stanshall, and Roberts and Richards are band members, do not appear on the band's first Island Records LP, Grimm's, which was a live recording culled from a run of UK shows in 1972. The notoriously mercurial Stanshall had essentially already left the group before the LP was recorded, but although he consequently never appeared on any of the band's albums, the lineup remained informal enough to allow him to occasionally return for guest spots at concerts afterwards. So he had an open invite. And this is very, very similar to the wording that was used that I took you through in the Stanshall Acral analysis about him playing the Stanshall character. That he would page in and out for potential appearances when he wanted to. In this case, it doesn't sound like he actually came back, although the door was open for Billy to come back and play with Grimm's as Stanshall. Now, I will make the argument that the reason why Billy as Stanshall was not on the recording or didn't play with this band was because he formed Wings in 1971, so 1972 only being a year later, he was up to his eyeballs in getting Wings up and off the ground. And so I would posit that that's the reason why he was not a permanent staple or even a staple of the Grimm's band other than its forming in the very beginning. After that, he went off to go do his Wings thing. Okay, so what it says is that Mike McGear, being one of the founding members, along with Vivian Stanshall of Billy, is that, there they are, together. So for people who ask the question, does Mike McGear know, which is kind of a crazy question to ask. He has to know, because if biological Paul McCartney was his brother, and he knows that his brother died, and there's this other guy playing Paul McCartney, he would know that there's somebody else playing his brother, right? And the evidence that the guy playing Paul McCartney since 1967 on a permanent basis is not his brother is overwhelming. Yes, it's circumstantial evidence. It's not direct evidence, but the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. I keep getting that. I get comments every once in a while from people. They just refuse to see it. And I don't know what to tell them anymore. It's like I've done so much on this that if you're watching my material, if you're listening to the interviews and you're watching the presentations and you can't see it, you can't see that there are different people playing Paul McCartney over the timeline. If you can't see the facial differences, I don't know what to say. I can only do so much, and I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince those that absolutely refuse to open their minds. It's if that's where you want to be, if you want to live in that fantasy, if that's what makes your boat float, your clock tick, okay, that's where you're at. All right. So anyway, so there you go. Again, the link to Grimm's will be down below. Take a look for yourself. It'll be very obvious that Mike McCartney or Mike McGear is very tied into Stanshall, and Stanshall, of course, is Billy, and Billy plays McCartney. All right. So that's it, everybody. That's the video for today. And if you have any questions, the comment section will be open, both on Facebook, obviously, and also on YouTube. All right. Have a great Sunday, and we will talk soon.